Why people are evil. Evil in humans, namely anger, cruelty, the capacity for deception, manipulation, and aggression, is an effective evolutionary mechanism that significantly accelerated the development of human civilization. It is an evolutionary tool that allowed our ancestors to create complex hierarchical societies in a record-short time by evolutionary standards. If humans were not evil, humanity would have remained stuck at the level of small egalitarian groups of 30-50 individuals and might have stayed a primitive society. Human communities without evil, if such ever emerged, were always destroyed by ordinary people, unburdened by empathy and morality. It is precisely the propensity for multi-level deception and gratuitous aggression, honed by evolution, not for food or a warm place, but to establish dominance, that led to the possibility of forming coalitions to oppress others, not even enemies, but their own kind. This made it possible to break down old horizontal ties that might have formed in ancient human communities and allowed the construction of a rigid vertical structure of the chief, warriors, farmers, slaves type. What we today call evil in an evolutionary context is a tool for competition between groups. A tribe in which certain individuals could display unmotivated cruelty to intimidate fellow tribesmen and neighbors, strategically lie to negotiate and win agreements, suppress the weak to appropriate their resources. Such a tribe won wars, seized territories, and increased the number of people within its ranks. Evil in humans arose because evolution prepared us to live in a world where either you suppress your neighbor today or he suppresses you tomorrow. Empathy for strangers and outsiders meant perishing, and an excess of kindness meant losing status and ultimately reduced chances of mating. Thus, evil in humans is an evolutionary tool for rapidly constructing inequality, which allowed us to transition from 50 to over 1 billion individuals organized into complex hierarchical structures such as states. After all, every state on our planet is based precisely on violence and on the monopoly right to use it. It is a pity that evolution probably did not know that humanity would one day live in cities and states where at least they would try to apply the law. Now evil in humans, this primitive evolutionary tool, threatens humanity with environmental disasters, depopulation, and mass extermination of people. Some countries are already facing the problem of irreversible depopulation. These are the first bells of the end of human history. It is indeed surprising, but for some reason Mother Evolution did not foresee that people would one day create a thermonuclear bomb. Therefore, evolution created not Homo sapiens, but Homo malus, which in Latin means evil man. Anger, cruelty, selfishness, indifference to the suffering of others arise in such a person because their brain is optimized for survival precisely in the here and now. It does not have sufficient neural resources to comprehend the consequences of its actions, to experience the pain of another person and the pain of its own future self with equal intensity. Indeed, empathy is an expensive and energy-consuming mechanism for the human brain. It requires time, energy, hormonal expenditure, and a developed system of mirror neurons. However, evolution has made a concession. Even evil people have acquired powerful empathy for their close ones and for their present selves, but very weak empathy for strangers and for themselves 10 or 20 years later. When someone steals, lies, kills, or simply walks past a helpless person, their brain automatically assesses, another's pain now weighs less than my gain now, or my discomfort if I intervene. Similarly, when a person destroys the environment or their own health, they do not feel the real pain of their future self, because that self seems almost like a stranger. Thus, Homo malus has a deficit of mirror neurons, which hinders understanding the suffering of others. The evil essence of humans is caused by an economy of brain resources, and this economy turns people into monsters whenever there are not enough neurons for empathy. A lack of mirror neurons almost always means a reduced ability to understand the consequences of one's actions and to predict even the near future. Indeed, if an individual is evolutionarily programmed to do evil to survive here and now, then they do not necessarily need to further burden their brain with even more energy-costly neurons for predicting consequences. Evil people are very short-sighted. Well, if people ever stop doing evil, it will not happen because of hypothetical love for one's neighbor or foolish humanism, but only out of fear for their own survival. People will always be evil. They will never cure evil within themselves because it made them what they are, namely a biological species that could not free itself from biological and evolutionary constraints and is destroying itself due to a lack of neurons.
FutureMind. Imagine the future,